Welcome back to the What Life Guys. We are diving into a Zwift monthly race, and we're doing this in Cat C. We did this race on Monday, Cat B, with 70 odd people. We're Cat C and we're down to 23 on the start list. So let's roll. We're getting the party started. This is a really good one. I loved it. Probably one of my favorite races we've done in a while because there's a ton of things going on, and we'll get into it. We'll get stuck into it. So grab your popcorn. Chances are, if you're in the UK, you've got storm warning, so you're probably not outside today, and that's exactly why I'm Zwift racing and not doing the SSX Mystery Gravel Tour, which was 215k in a thunderstorm. So anyone that is out there doing that, my my hat is tipped to you. We're off the line, typical Zwifty start. I also want to say that this race is a prime example of why I still think I'm a Cat C rider rather than Cat B. There's a lot going on as a kind of slightly stronger Cat C rider. You know, there's certain things that happen in a race that I can respond to. If I'm Cat B, I can't respond to anything. I'm just literally holding on for dear life. This is what makes this race actually way more interesting. Probably the most interesting race I've ridden in a while. I think there's basically the guy that wins it is definitely kind of borderline Cat B, Cat C. His Zwift Power, he has a ton of Cat B races that he's done, and then he's dropped down into the seas. I don't want to say dropped down, he's just riding this one in the seas, and then he takes the win. But this is really interesting in this race. Lots of things change, a little bit of chat, which was always nice in the group. Makes it way more interesting. But we've already whittled the group down. We lost a few people off the start line. There's about 16 of us at the moment as we kind of settle into the lead-in. So if you haven't ridden this one, it's a part of the beach series. I don't know. I think Zwift is like reaching for fun, exciting things to do on their monthly races. So part of the beach series, it's basically a little loop through the volcano and then some of this rolling hill countryside that we are on now, and it's 3 loops. Total distance for the race is 13 odd miles, whatever that ends up being in K, like 25 or something. I'm not even sure what the conversion is, but it's really fun. And a little bit of chat in the group about how the weather in the UK is absolutely terrible, so we're all forced to come and do some Zwift races. But the wattage for this ride, I held 3.2 watts per kg for the entire ride. I was slower doing this race than I was when I came 41st in a Cat B race. I came 4th in this Cat C race, and I was still about 40 seconds slower. So there you go, that's a little bit of a interesting info for you. I'm going to fast forward bits and we skip bits because there are bits that aren't quite so interesting. But this is the start. We whittled the group down to 13, and we just kind of kick on. I did kind of come into this, I had a really good night's sleep, and you're like, why are you telling me about the sleep? I find it really interesting. Really good night's sleep. I had my lowest resting heart rate I've ever had with sleep, 39 beats per minute during my sleep. I track everything, I love it. So I was feeling good. I've not really been on the bike, I've been lacking a bit of motivation given that we're mid-July and the weather is terrible in the UK. So this was kind of me just trying to force myself to get back into it a little bit. And it kind of worked because I enjoyed it. And this race, it kind of put me in a position where I was able to control a few things and do a few things that made it more exciting for me anyway, and hopefully for the group, because it does, it changes the dynamic. And then also there is definitely a point when I completely balls everything up and it goes a bit wrong for me. So we got a bit of everything in this race. It's not just kind of dull circuit loops, 3 loops and nothing really happens. Tons of little things happen, and it was actually quite good fun in the end. Also, anyone that is interested in the training effects of using Zwift and things like that, I mean, on my last lap, I hold like a 170 plus HR, and I think I max out 175, 176, and that's not with a sprint. Well, I mean, as a mini sprint at the end. So, I'm super impressed that when I started doing this, like I just wouldn't see 170 on HR, and then now it's got to the stage where I'm seeing 170 and I can hold it a little bit. So I think there are massive, just the improvements that I've been making along the way, I'm really, really happy with. And a lot of that just comes down to A, throwing in loads of Zwift racing because I love it, and B, just being a bit more committed and dedicated to kind of training. But ultimately, my highest heart rates always seems to be in the Zwift races because it kind of drives you to push that little bit harder. So we've got 3 loops, and obviously you can see on the top on the little chart that gauges how far through each loop we are. This is the first climb of the loop, just a small one up into the volcano, through the volcano, and then out the other side. Little gauger for everyone just to see who wanted to do bits and who wanted to do what. I kind of came into this thinking if someone wanted to push and wanted to go, that I'd definitely go with them. I wanted to mix it up a little bit, wanted to make it a bit more exciting, but without being a dick about it. I think that's important. Like, I'm not here to like screw up other Cat C riders. I just wanted to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. So riding through here, it was nice to kind of on that climb just put a kind of slightly stronger kick in through there. And then I just thought to myself, look, I'm just going to tease the group a little bit, and rather than attack the group, I just wanted to make sure that I was always on the front edge of the group. And you will see the guy on the right with the feather. I think that's Cully. He's a guy that plays a good little role in the race, and it kind of, a few little interesting points, and he dives in the chat as well, so it makes it a bit more interesting. So the idea was just coming through here just to kind of keep the group moving forward kind of reasonably quickly, not with an intention to attack, not with an intention to break up the group. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't a kind of slow, I don't want to use this word too aggressively, but slow, meaningless ride where we kind of really let off the gas. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I thought the fact that our pace was quite high throughout was actually quite cool. And then tons goes on in lap 3, which makes it really interesting. And here it is. This is me just like teasing the group, not trying to ride off the front. I wasn't trying to like stomp on the pedals and open up a gap. I just wanted to make sure the group rode hard. And I think if you ride just off the front and rather than an attack, it's it's just a bit of a tease to the group, just to keep them moving forward. And you tend to find that people will come with you if you do this, which is, for me, I didn't want to kind of break the Zwift dynamic and try and get off the front and then just ride solo. I wanted the group to move forward quicker. Obviously this impacted my performance for the rest of the race, but I was all about just trying to enjoy it. And we're going to skip a little bit now because some parts of the race just aren't entirely interesting. So we're diving into basically the similar section on the second lap, which is the top of the first climb. And this is the thing to pay attention to is the guy up front, guy called Jeff from Wales. And he takes a slightly different approach. He does attack through here and holds a bit of a lead. And I'll show you why this is relevant in a minute. Because it definitely, obviously, he actually attacks the group, opens up a gap. He's, like I said, very strong rider. His Zwift Power, he does a lot of Cat B racing and does quite well in Cat B racing. And he's come and ridden a Cat C race to make it a bit more interesting. And he rides hard, and it was cool to be part of it and good to see it. So he pushes off the front, and our little group is moving well, moving forward. And I think we hold it pretty well. At this point, I didn't know that he was a pretty good Cat B rider, so I was just happy to let him ride, and then I kind of help the group move forward. I hope I help the group move forward as we scooch through. And then you're going to see why this becomes interesting and relevant in a second once we finish kind of scooching through the rest of the volcano and onto the main part of the second loop. So this is relevant because someone dives in the chat, Cully, and says Jeff's gone for a workout because this guy's obviously just ridden off the front. Just to point out, Jeff's on a yellow Tron bike. And then I get in the chat and I go Jeff, because I love it. I like to see it. I like it when people attack. I like it when there's just a different dynamic and it's just not a big front group of 16 people riding in a peloton. He then goes, I need help. And I was like, do you know what? This seems like a good day to throw caution into the ever brewing wind in the UK. So I just reply with, I'm coming. And then I kind of move the pedals. I wish I was a bit better at kind of swapping between views on a Zwift ride. I just don't really know how to do it. Otherwise, I'd kind of change the camera view to behind. Because obviously I stamp on the pedals a little bit, and I'm guessing the group comes with me, or some of the group comes with me. My intention was just to move up, and here come a few of the guys. They obviously see me take the lead out, and they are happy to come with. You'll notice that the heart rates and things like that kind of just build up gently. I hold on to my feather, guys. There's 2 power-ups for this, feather and ghost. Ghost is completely pointless. Not completely pointless, but just definitely doesn't have the same impact as a feather might on a ride like this. I'm holding some reasonably good wattage for me. Cully's coming with, and we make a bit of a move to catch up our little guy Jeff at the front of the race. And it's pretty obvious that I'm doing let's just say the lion's share of the of the lead out. But then here come a few of the guys, and we kind of break up the group. If you have a little look at the mini map, you see we've dropped a few guys, and I just thought this was the stuff to happen on the end of lap 2. It just makes it way more interesting. So I loved it. I was really enjoying this. But at some stage, you have to recover and kind of prepare for the end, or at least the kind of any action that might happen on the last lap. And this is where I kind of get caught out a little bit. So ultimately, I definitely feel like I helped the group move forward, and then we kind of end up like riding back onto our front lad, Jeff, which was pretty cool. I didn't feel like I needed to do all the work to get back up. As soon as I realized the group were coming with me, I was happy to do as much as I could, and then we just ride on through and keep the speed high, because if we've dropped a couple, this seemed like a good chance to drop a few more and really break that front group down. And we see coming down the hill, we definitely drop a few other riders. So we've gone from that big 16-person group at the very beginning of it all, and I think we're down to about 9 or 10 front riders. And this is interesting because someone else then attacks off the front, and it's not Jeff this time. It's a completely different rider. Have a quick look at the mini-map. They have a solo rider off the front, and he's riding pretty hard and pretty well. I think he just kept the gas on as we came down the hill and opens up like a really nice little lead, but he is diving into it solo. So that was a brave move. That leaves 9 of us at the back, I think, and then I just write +1 up front. So that's our top 10 for you in theory. So we've whittled down the group, which is a really good effort, and we're riding this. I guess this is why they're called the beach races or the sand races for the month. And a few other riders decide that they are going to put a bit of an effort in to kind of make sure that whoever has ridden off front, I didn't catch his name, doesn't get too far ahead. But he's done a really good job on the last lap of opening up a good lead. And this, guys, is where it gets interesting. My favourite part of the race, which was coming into this last lap, you get a little kicker before we head up into the volcano. I just didn't ride this well enough, so I lead the group. You know my tactic. I like to lead into a climb and then just come a little bit soft on the pedals towards the top. But what I didn't realise is that the 2 guys now on the Tron bikes, I think it's the 2 guys on the Tron bikes, which is our lad Jeff, who did the first attack, and another lad, basically just open up a gap. So they gap our group. I think I was just probably blowing a little bit too hard at the time to really cover that move, or I just couldn't be arsed. I don't know what's the difference anyway. So I don't cover the move, and then they end up catching the front lad, and I should have gone with them, guys. That was my mistake. I didn't realize how much of a move they were going to make. I didn't go with them. I think I had half an eye on the finish line and just thought that our group would move up as well, but we didn't. So there we go. We've got 3 guys, 1, 2, 3 up front. 1 guy is still solo at the moment, and 2 just sat behind. And I think that little group moves up together. And then we have a 4th rider just up front. I think that's Cully, who put a bit of an effort into closing the gap, and then I think gives up the ghost on it and then drops back to our group. And if you look at our wattage, we're not really working crazy hard as a group to close that gap. If we should have done something, or I should have done something. I didn't work hard enough at this point, and I kind of let that go. And then in some senses, that was the race gone, because you'll see what happens in a minute. I make my big move, and I attack my little group in an attempt to bridge that, and it just doesn't work. Didn't have the flames for it, but we give it a very good go anyway. So if you'll notice, we've got 1.8 miles to the finish line. So what's that? Just like 3k, 2 and a bit k, 2.5k. So we're almost getting to the business end of the race, and our little kind of chase group is moving all right. I think there's 7, maybe 8 of us, and then 3 up front, or 7 here, 3 up front. So there we go. The group up front have moved very well. You might be wondering why I've dropped to the back of this pack. It was literally just a case of catching my breath because I knew I wanted to try and catch that group in front. This group was not moving fast enough. We should have been working harder. I know that I'm partly responsible for it because I'm in the group, but we should have been working harder to catch that front group. We weren't working hard enough. The wattage that we're putting out it's just not strong enough. No shade on anyone. It just is what it is. That front group is moving away from us. So I decide, because I've had a few days where I haven't really been on the bike, I'm like, screw it. Let's throw caution to the wind. We're going to go for it. So I'm kind of middle battle, just the back of this chase group, and I just decide that the wattage isn't really anything crazy. If they are going to sleep on the pedals, I am going to go. So here we go, guys. Put a bit of a sprint in to open up a gap. Don't bother using my power up just yet. I want to try and save it for that last climb. And then I put some watts down. I think Cully at that point realizes that the race has moved away from him, and I gap that really nicely because you can see on the mini map that no one comes with me. I don't know what they were thinking, but if I had been in that group and someone had done that, I definitely would have gone and tried to hold their wheels. It's not like I did what I could to move away, and then my goal was to work up and try and catch these 3. And it's rolling through here, so you might misjudge the distance because obviously if they're on an incline and I'm on a downcline, it makes me look a little bit closer than I am. But I think I do a pretty good effort of kind of almost getting there. I don't want to say I'm with touching distance because I don't quite get that close, but this is where I'm working, and I'm holding 175 HR. So back to my original point, you can really see the effects of just the training and all the time I have spent riding my bike and doing Zwift races and doing interval sessions have really paid off, and I'm like over the moon that I see that kind of HR figure. So we're coming into the last few turns of the race in a second now, and it's basically at this point I realise that I'm not quite gonna catch them. I just don't have it in my legs. My watts start to come off. I think basically one cyclist is chasing me down out of that chase group, so I don't think anyone basically really drove or got stuck into my attack. They kind of just let me kind of do my own thing. One guy came with, which was Cully. He then starts trying to chase me down. I'm really struggling. I'm basically struggling to turn the chain at the moment. My front 3 leave me for dust. I'm not going to hold their wheels. I know that this is the last corner on the incline before we drop down to the finish. Time for a power up. All I'm trying to think now is, right, I just need to hold off whoever's behind me, hold off the chase group as we come into this last climb. Just put down the wattage. I'm keeping half an eye on the guy behind me, his watts per kg. He's holding like 5 or so. All I got to do is just kind of keep him away, and he's about a second or 2 behind me. As long as he doesn't get on my wheel, I should be okay. Try and keep on the pedals as we come down into the last descent before the finish line. We are seconds away from finishing. My heart is seconds away from exploding. So we come into the last corner. This is actually a sprint section. It's called a sprint race. And this is, there we go, we check in. I'm just trying to hold whatever wattage I can do, and my heart rate, I love it, 175, really happy with it, like I said. And we come into the finish, and if I did roll the tape a little bit longer, you'd probably see me throwing up out my window. But that's it, guys. I absolutely love this race. Great effort from everyone involved, and I will see you on the next one. God, I love Cat C. Great racing.